Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing with you a set of 3 cards that I'm making using what's left over from my May kit from Scrapping Fun Kits. This first card, I use a Tim Holtz die to create that flower. This card is a shaker card using the sequence and seed beads in the kit, and this one was inspired by a picture I saw on Pinterest. So this is the 3 cards. So this is what I have left of the kit. There are pattern papers, some alpha stickers, sequins, flowers, and this ribbon. Now the ribbon is gathered and I don't think I'll use it in that form, so I'm using my quick unpick to unpick it so that it sits flat. I'll then press it. When I pressed it, my iron was too hot and I did burn a section of the ribbon, so I'm going to have to work around those 2 areas. To create my bases for my cards, I'm using this die cuts with a view 12 by 12 embossed cardstock floral, and I've cut it so that I've got 2 5 1/4 inch by 5 1/4 inch cards when they're folded. I start by taking this smaller piece of pattern paper that I have left over from my layout. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can see the layout that I created with this kit as well. Anyway, I decided to tear one side and I use my distress tool to rough it up a little more. Then I take a piece of the lighter coloured paper and tear that and make it so that you will be able to see the darker colour behind it when it's actually layered on top of each other. I trim it so it's the same length as the darker orange as well. Once I have this piece to the size I want, I once again distress the torn edge with my distressing tool just to give it some extra depth. I'm going to use some of that modified ribbon to just lay over the top of the lighter pattern paper. I attach that using a piece of double-sided tape and I wrap the edges around the ends of the paper. I use some foam tape foam squares to attach that smaller section to the larger section of pattern paper. Once those layers are assembled, I use some double-sided tape to attach the assembly to the card's base. I use my bone folder to burnish it to ensure a good stick to the textured background. Using my Tim Holtz tattered florals die, I cut 2 of the larger flowers and 2 of the pointy flowers. And I'm going to assemble a flower that I saw on the internet many years ago, and I've used this flower quite often. I really like the way it looks when it's finished. Usually you have to have 3 for the bottom layer, the bigger one, but I didn't have enough paper for that, and the flower turns out alright with just the 2 bottom layers. You cut down the side of each of the petals on the larger flower, being careful not to cut them off, of course. Once you've done that, you take something round. I use my tool that I use to poke holes in things with, and you wrap the edges of each of the petals downwards over that tool. You do this for all of the petals on all of the larger flowers. I'm just going to do one here. I'll do the rest off camera. We then take the smaller flower and fold each of the petals in half away from you so that your pattern paper is showing. We end up with a flower that looks a bit like a spiky star. Once we've got all of the petals folded in halves, we take the same tool that we used before and we wrap each petal around the tool, reversing our direction with each petal. So wind your first one forward, wind your second one backwards, and make sure you wind it up fairly tight. Do this for all the petals. We end up with a very tightly curled up little flower, and this is going to be the centres of our flower. So we do that for the second one as well. Now that all the parts for our flower are ready, I'm going to use my hot glue gun and assemble the flower. Put your layers on top, the two large ones on top of each other so that they're staggered and you get a full circle. Now if you'd used the third one, it actually is a lot fuller. And then use your heat gun once again to do the same thing with your two little centre flowers. I like to push down into the centre of the flower when I'm gluing it together. It seems to raise the petals and give the flower a bit more dimension. For the centre of this flower, I'm going to use one of these creative gems, a red one. No, make that yellow, and once again I've stuck that in there with the hot glue gun. Now that my flower is fully assembled, I will get this is an old stubby holder that I've cut open, and my tool, and I will push that centre down again just to reinforce the depth of the centre and bring back the height of the flower. I've had a look around through my stash and I've found a white flower to go behind the red one and a couple of leaves. I'm going to use my hot glue gun to attach these to the card. I'm going to use the alphabet stickers that come in the kit to create my greeting. My greeting is going to be "For You." I'm going to stick that onto white cardstock, and then I'm going to layer that onto some of the same cardstock that I've used on the top layer of papers. And I'm going to cut a fishtail into one edge of it. Here you can see my assembled greeting. I'm going to use some glue to attach that between the two background layers. I was thinking that that would be it for this card, and then I saw the sequins and I thought I might just sprinkle a few sequins around the background for a bit of extra sparkle. I've done that by just using a dab of glue where I wanted the sequins and then stuck the sequin on top. I find the Silhouette Pick Me Up tool very handy for placing sequins on cards and things. That completes card number 1. Because I was still thinking about sequins, I decided to make the next card a shaker card using the sequins and the seed beads that are in the kit. I used a flower die, I don't know the brand of it, and I cut a flower out of the lightly coloured pattern paper. Using some clear drying glue, I attached a transparency to the back of the piece of paper that I cut the flower out of. I then took some very thin foam tape and made a border all around the flower. You have to make sure that there's no gaps in your border, otherwise your embellishments, like your sequins or your seed beads, will fall out. Because this is being attached to a transparency, I also used some glue on my foam tape just to make sure that it sticks. Because I wanted to make sure that there was room in my shaker for my sequins to move around and my seed beads wouldn't get stuck, I added a second layer of foam tape all the way around. Now that I'm happy with the casing for my shaker items, I'm adding my sequins and seed beads, and then I'm going to attach a layer of white paper that I've cut, or white cardstock that I've cut to the same size as the front piece, which is going to be the back of my flower. I wanted a fine orange border all the way around my shaker element, so I've cut a piece of orange cardstock that's 1/4 of an inch bigger in each direction, and I'm going to now use some glue and attach that to my shaker element. I'm going to use some clear drying glue in my fine liner bottle to reattach the flower that I cut out of the original piece of paper. This will put the detail back into the shaker element. So there we have the shaker element to be attached to the front of the card. To embellish the front of my card further, I take a piece of the ribbon and I tie a knot in it. And I'm going to attach that to the front of the card, and then I'm going to use some of the paper flowers that are in the kit and attach them as well. Now that I have all the items for this card assembled, I'll start to put it all together. I'm going to use a collection of glue and hot glue gun to attach the elements to this card. Once again, I'm going to use the stickers to create my greeting, which is happy birthday. I'm going to assemble them on a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm going to layer them onto the same pattern paper that I've used for the shaker section and also the plain orange cardstock. Because I'm going to attach the greeting at the bottom of the card and it's going to overlap the shaker section, I have to apply foam tape to the bottom of the greeting so that it sits at the same level. So the foam tape goes on the bottom and just a run of glue along the top so that it sticks to the shaker section and my greeting will be attached. I used a gem from the same pack to put in the centre of this flower, and this time I did actually use a red one. I also added some more of the paper flowers from the kit to the top right hand section of the card. So that completes the second card from the kit. This is what I have left of the kit, and the inspiration for this next card came from Pinterest. It was a sketch and I'm afraid I can't remember who the sketch was by. I've cut a plain cardstock card that I cut to 8 inches by 6 inches, folded in halves to make a 6 by 4. Then I've cut some orange that's a 1/4 of an inch shorter and a 1/4 of an inch narrower, and then some white that's 1/4 of an inch shorter and narrower than the orange, so I've created some layers for my background. I've used this Lifestyle Nesting Doilies die to cut a piece of the pattern paper to go in the middle of my card front, and I'm going to use a strip of plain orange cardstock and cover that with some ribbon. I'm going to cut that to the same width as the orange cardstock. The ribbon will be attached using double-sided tape and wrapped around the edges of the cardstock. I cut 2 fishtail banners out of the remaining papers, and I cut those in halves and positioned them behind the circle that I had previously cut. The greeting for this card is going to be congratulations, and once again I will use the stickers from the kit to do that. I'm going to position them on a piece of white cardstock and then cut them out with a very fine white border. This is then going to be attached to the card over the top of the ribbon. I decide to ink the edges of all of the elements on this card. It's not my normal practice to ink everything, and for the previous two cards I haven't used any ink at all, so I'm reverting back to my old habits. Now that all my elements are ready for the card, I use my hot glue gun to assemble all of the pieces. I also add the 3 remaining paper flowers from the kit. That completes the third and final card for this video. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please subscribe to my channel. Click the bell next to the subscribe button and you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to share this video with your friends.